Hello everyone, lovely to be with you. So sit comfortably and welcome the experience without knowing it, without figuring it out. You don't need to figure anything out for right now. Just simply be, which you already are. So it's a sort of relaxation, a sinking into presence. Presence sinking into itself. Notice that as a thought appears, you are present, you are aware. And as the thought dissolves, you are that same awareness. Not diminished by the absence of a thought. Not augmented by the appearance of a thought or a sensation. This invisible, silent and still aware presence is you, your reality, your true self. Your true nature, your essence. There is nothing you need to do to be that invisible, aware present. presence. You don't need to become anything. You don't need to attain anything. You don't need to achieve anything. To be that which you already are. This unnameable, formless, reality which a limited mind can never comprehend. And does not need to. No mission. No personal objective. The universe is universing, and it is not separate from you. There are no differences in consciousness, no divisions. It's one ocean. From this understanding, and as this understanding, you live moment by moment, aligning your thinking, aligning your speech, and aligning your behavior, your actions with this understanding. That there is one totality, one wholeness, one reality. unopposed, and thus lacking nothing, meaning seeking nothing, and fearing nothing, as that one unopposed beingness. You may play in the gardens, your own garden, harmoniously, being aware of the tendency to separate yourself from the totality, and become subject to the negative emotions of fear, greed, jealousy, anger, envy. Which arise whenever you believe yourself to be a man or a woman, a person, a separate consciousness. To which there is zero evidence. You, the reality which hears these words right now, are not inside some body limited by skin. The reality that hears these words is not contained inside a thought or a feeling or inside a world, inside a brain. These are stories for the children. As you live your life in alignment with the understanding, life will confirm that you are on the correct path. It will prove to you, provide you the feedback. This will fuel your determination to continue along that path. Where you recognize the other as yourself. And you recognize yourself beyond the limitations of a body or a mind, beyond the phenomenal realm, that you are this nominal reality. The infinite invisible, as John Goldsmith used to speak. Whenever you are experiencing the unhappiness, you'll experience it at the feeling level within your body mind. It's the canary in the mine, the bird. Yes, inviting you to take a look at what do you believe yourself to be at that particular moment. Do you perceive and believe yourself to be somebody existing in time and space, a limited personal mortal self, a limited consciousness? It's an invitation to take a look. And it's sufficient to just take a look and recognize the download. This recognition restores order. You are not only the presence between perceptions, but you are the presence at the heart of every perception. So if you have any questions, anything that you would like to discuss, please make sure you unmute yourself and you're welcome to turn on the video. So any questions?
Magdi, I have a question for you.
Yes, hello, Carol.
Hi. Very nice to be here. I don't know that there's an answer to this, but I would like a little feedback from you. During this pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, I had over 10 friends die from various things, and I was in a lot of very intense grief. And then there was a period of time where it seemed to stop for a little while. And, you know, I'm getting older, so I know friends are going to be dying. But in the past 2 months, I've had 7 more friends, close friends, all die, one after the other, from various things, mostly cancer. And I could feel that grief going on. And yet somehow, maybe because I've come through some serious medical issues of my own in the past several months and feel like I have another chance at continuing to live for a while, that I'm not in horrible anguish like I have been in times past when someone dies. And I'm thinking maybe life is just slamming me with so many deaths around me that I have no other choice but to surrender and come to a different level of acceptance, which I think, and I think I'm accepting on another level. I think that's sort of what's going on. But I would appreciate your any thoughts you have about acceptance and death.
Yes. And there is an acceptance that arises out of understanding, like when you understand, for example, that the Earth rotates around the sun, it's not the sun that's rotating around the Earth. Once you understand that, it's easy to accept because of the understanding. But it's a different thing to accept something because you think it's a good thing to accept it, or because you heard that you need to accept, or you should accept, or that if you accept, things will be better off for you. Which may be true, but it's different. There is an acceptance that arises from understanding. And here in our case, we're talking about the death. Death is always the death of the body. It's important to understand that you are not the body. The consciousness is not a physical form. Consciousness is not a bundle of organs and brain and bones and flesh, and the consciousness is not material. It's not an object that I am conscious. If you are conscious, you're aware. And it's not the body that is aware, it is you that is aware. The body is doing what it's doing. The heart is beating, and the cells are reproducing, fighting various viruses. The brain neurons are firing, etc. So the body is doing what it's doing. But You are not the body, the reality that perceives right now, that which hears right now, has no name. It's not called Carol. The body is called Carol, beautiful name. That the mom and dad loved the little girl, called her Carol. They were naming the body. They were not naming you because you have no name. You are nameless. Consciousness has no name. That's an important understanding, the understanding about reality. Because the body appears to you, and it changes in appearance. It appeared to you as a 12-year-old body, then a 13-year-old girl, then a 20, then a 30-year-old girl. It appears to you as images. It appears to you as bodily sensations. You being consciousness, you being awareness, presence. It's an important understanding. Because without this understanding, we have this societal, cultural belief that we are the body, and that therefore when the body dies, I die. And that model is a false model. It is not based on evidence. There is no evidence that consciousness has a name called Carol. You should ask yourself right now, this awareness, I am aware, is this awareness male or female? Is the reality which hears these words male or female? You will come to an answer that yes, it's male or female. And yet you cannot deny the reality which perceives. So in terms of acceptance, there's an understanding of what I am. And also there is the understanding that bodies die. In fact, the bodies are constantly dying, cells are constantly reproducing. I believe like within, 5-6 days, the cells have completely renovated themselves or replaced themselves. So there is the understanding that bodies die. Then therefore, there is an acceptance that, oh yeah, okay, bodies die. But the understanding that I, consciousness, is not the body, and that consciousness is not phenomenal, it's not made out of molecules and ions and protons, it's not. And that consciousness is not in time, it's not aging, it's not becoming a better consciousness or a better awareness. The awareness right now that perceives this perception is the same awareness that this morning was having breakfast, was perceiving a bowl of cereal. The same awareness. It's not aging. It's not dying. And if you look at resistance, which is the opposite of acceptance, they say, we resist because we believe that something is going to be harming me or it's not good for me. Otherwise, we wouldn't resist. We resist because we believe something is harmful to me, me being what? Consciousness is not harmed by fire or by volcanic eruptions or by tsunamis or by world wars, because consciousness is not an option. It's a reality that right now hears these words, perceives this perception. So we resist because we believe we are the person. It makes sense to protect the body, when there is a strong wind, to close the windows and make sure all the doors are shut correctly, so the wind doesn't. It makes sense to, when the body is hungry or weak, to feed the body or give it rest. But that's taking care of the body. Like you take care of your car. It makes sense when the air pressure in the tires. If your car is low, to put in more air, or if your gas gauge is low, to put in gas in the gas tank. But that's a different level. You're talking about the level of death and the level of consciousness. There are different levels. Death pertains to the body. So yes, I agree with you that living as best as you can, not resisting, accepting, being fluid, being open, rather than being contracted and trying to protect everything and fight everything and defend and argue. Yes, it's a good idea to live that way, to live as openly, as consciousness is borderless, is open. So yes, you accept, you say yes, you go with the flow. When you need to go in a different direction, and it's possible for you to go in a different direction, you go in a different direction. If you think it's a better direction. It's part of life to also be navigating your life. But yes, openly, as you say, in acceptance, in openness, and enjoy. Joy is important. Not like we accept because we have no choice about it, or because we hope that this acceptance is gonna bring us a longer life or better salvation. No, it must be an enjoyment of life, enjoyment of the sun shining through the window, the heart beating, breathing, enjoying a meal, listening to music, going for a walk, talking to some friends. It's joyful, happy. Not to isolate ourselves in this whole thing about death and my body. Of course, you take care of the body, you take care of your health, you do the best you can. But not to sacrifice your understanding about that you are not the body. There's no evidence that the reality which uses words, is called Carol. You follow? And your friends will have passed, well, your love for them has not passed.
True.
Love is eternal. Love is not dependent on life and death. Sometimes you don't see a friend for 10 years, but you love them. They live on the other side of the world, but you love them. You may see them, maybe you may not see them, I don't know. But you love them. So the understanding about death and the relaxation about death, the death of the body. It's an important understanding. The body is a temporary vehicle for the celebration of this life, and also for the contemplation about new reality. What is it that is real? What am I truly? And so it's good that you are contemplating these questions about death and about presence and consciousness. Relax your body, allow your body to expand, allow your being not to be contained in the body. Allow your being to expand in this whole room, expand throughout the walls of the village, in the town, in the space. In all directions. Don't limit your being to be inside a shell, inside a skin form. Expand it. It's available to you to expand it beyond the walls of the skin of the body. When you expand then the body with its skin and is inside of you, the expanded you. Yeah. Expand. It is happiness and expansion. Like when the sun rises in the morning and it's shining, it shines, it keeps it's a light, it's a little light, and then more and more light, and then the sun is shining, and it's a gloriousness about it, beauty about it.
I just said thank you.
Okay.
I think when I was speaking about acceptance, I was noticing that it's more of an organic thing than pushing or trying, like you were talking about.
Yes.
I'm noticing that it is a more just happening.
Beautiful.
Than something that I'm trying. Yeah.
Yes.
Your thoughts are very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the best form of acceptance, where acceptance is sort of unfolding within your being, within your space, and it's beautiful that way. Yes.
I agree.
Yes, that's
thank you very much.
Okay.
And Magdi.
Yes. Hola, Fernando. Yes.
Hola.
One moment, Fernando. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Stephen. Yes.
Fernando. Yeah. You said that. Well, I have a doubt, and I would like some clarification. You said that there is no evidence that consciousness dies when the body dies, but there is no evidence either that consciousness remains after the body dies.
Yes.
The remaining of consciousness wouldn't be an act of faith, like in another religion. Can you talk about this, please?
Yes, Fernando. So there is no evidence that consciousness is contained in a body, mind, or is inside the brain, and that therefore it dies. There's no evidence of that. But it's sufficient. It is sufficient to be completely certain and completely clear that there is no evidence that consciousness is dependent on the body or contained within the body or is limited to the body or to the mind or to the brain. You do not need to adopt the belief that consciousness is limitless and borderless. Allow consciousness to prove that to you. Allow consciousness to demonstrate to you, if it does, that in fact it is borderless and limitless and universal and impersonal and eternal. So, yes, this is not about, it's not religion, about you believe in a God, in an eternal God or something like that. That's a good question. No. It is sufficient to arrive to complete, absolute not knowing that consciousness is mortal, or that consciousness is limited, personal, and dependent on the body. Now, having said that, we both agree that consciousness is absolute. You cannot deny consciousness, right? Consciousness is awareness, consciousness, presence is. So we know it is. And I know I am, that I need the reality that perceives, not the body with its age and name and size and possessions and bank account. No, I reality, I presence, I awareness, I consciousness. I am, I know I am aware that I am, and I'm aware that I'm aware. All of that pertains to consciousness. Now, there is no doubt about the reality of consciousness. And that is sufficient. And that consciousness is not material. It's not made out of, it's not created by the Big Bang, or it's not just a bunch of atoms and molecules and photons and protons and nuclei, whatever. It's not made out of flesh and bones. It's not contained, it's not located behind the eyes, 4 inches or 2 inches behind the eyes, or, at some place inside the brain. Sufficient to be clear that there's no evidence of that. So I don't know what it is. And I don't know that it's eternal. But it will prove to you, whatever it will prove to you, it will prove to you its eternity. If it does, it does. It will prove to you what it is. But if you adopt the model that consciousness is mortal, consciousness is it's going to transmute from one body to the other, it's a result of brain activity. Then you have defined. Then you have adopted a model, and so you're not going to allow consciousness to really reveal itself to you, because you have adopted a position in knowingness about what consciousness is. Now, the mind has a tendency to want to know, because the mind is in service of the body and of life. So when you hear a noise inside the house in the evening, then the mind becomes very alert. Wait a minute, that sounded like, some noise upstairs, but there is nobody, I'm alone at home. So the mind becomes very alert and starts to investigate. It becomes very alert. So it has a very important function. If, for example, in the body there is a certain ache, something in the lower back or whatever, the mind is just sort of investigate. So the functions of the mind about discovery and investigating, and the attentive, the focusing qualities of the mind apply to phenomenally. They do not apply to consciousness. Because consciousness is not material. It's not like something that the limited mind can focus its attention on. Because consciousness is nominal. It's the reality within which the mind functions. So the tendency for the mind to sort of wanting to know, say, okay, I got it, that consciousness is not mortal. Now I want to know, is it immortal? Is it eternal? The mind wants to know that. But the mind will only formulate a concept about eternity. But as you said, be a belief. Because the mind cannot get a proof, evidence about eternity of consciousness. Only consciousness can reveal itself. It can reveal its infinity and its eternity.
I understand well that the consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain or of the body. It's not limited to the body, but can we say that that superconscious, let's say the universal consciousness, it will remain, that's clear to me, but the individual consciousness, this personal consciousness, this individuality is gone when you die, when the body dies. Is that correct? Or
well,
we're going to disappear
obviously
as individuals.
As the body
So, yeah.
Obviously as the body dies, this particular body mind with its color, shape, habits, personal traits, in your case, artistic talents, not in my case.
But you're teaching.
So yes, that particular those particular aspects of the body mind will be gone. Now, but you mentioned personal consciousness. Before I go there, when you go into deep sleep, in deep sleep, your personality, your thoughts, your experiences, all of the characteristics, which are phenomenal, for a temporary period of time are absent, are completely absent. And upon waking up, then slowly there are various, downloads, that arise. Maybe at some point you think of that, you have to go to the studio, you have an inspiration about some painting, or I noticed you're doing those portraits, you've been doing the black and white portraits, I've been seeing them. You may get an inspiration to do it. So there'll be, download. Now, the question is, when during deep sleep, is the personal consciousness gone? What has actually happened in deep sleep is the body is gone, right? Because we don't, and the mind, the mind is gone and perceptions are gone. Not in the dream state, in the deep sleep state. So, but this does not mean that consciousness has gone, because the perceptions, the sensations, the feelings, the thoughts, they're phenomenal. But consciousness is not phenomenal. So you can say, it's like a screen, for example, when you have images on the screen, it's the waking state or the dream state. But when you shut off the projector, there are no more images on the screen, but there's still the screen as a metaphor. It's still the screen. Now, you could say, well, that's a belief, that's a new religion, that in the absence of thoughts, consciousness still is.
Yes.
You could say, well, it's a new belief. Well, no. Let's look at it. For example, we know that between two thoughts, there are no thoughts. And we know that between two thoughts, we don't disappear. Between the thought, I love ice cream, and between the thought, today is Sunday, there are two different thoughts. They're not one thought. They're two different thoughts. A thought about the painting you want to do, and a thought about having, to pay the rent or what, they're two different thoughts. And you know that they are between those two thoughts, you don't disappear. So it's an interesting thing. The other thing is, you know that you're aware. You don't know that you're aware because a thought has told you that you're aware, or you've experienced a memory, or you've experienced a feeling. You know that you're aware directly. I know when you ask yourself, am I aware? The answer is immediately yes. You don't say, yes, I'm aware because I see the wall, or I'm aware because I'm hearing Magdi. No, you say, I'm aware. Yes, am I aware? Yes, I'm aware. This is a direct knowingness, which Jean Klein used to refer to as an apperception. There is perception. Perception refers to phenomena. You perceive a tree, you perceive a painting, you perceive a sensation in your body. But an apperception is a perception which has no phenomenal aspect to it. No thought, no perception, no body, no mind. So these are little hints to you. Now, the other thing is, there is no evidence that you have, which is maybe a better way to go, that in the absence of thought, consciousness is absent or disappears, that consciousness disappears with a thought or disappears with a perception. There is no evidence for that. So therefore, you can remain not knowing, and that's okay. You don't need to come to the conclusion that consciousness does not, that consciousness is unmoved and unchanged in the absence of thoughts, in the absence of in the absence of the body. You don't need to. But when you speak about a personal consciousness, now when you say personal consciousness, you are referring to a consciousness that is dependent on this body-mind. And when this body-mind dies, what will happen to this consciousness? So you've adopted a belief because there is no evidence. You have adopted a religion that consciousness is personal. There is no evidence for that. Right now, you are conscious. There is no evidence that this consciousness is arising out of the body, or is arising out of the brain, or is residing 1 inch behind your eyes, or no. There is no evidence. So therefore, why speak of a personal consciousness? Except if you have some evidence to speak this way. We know, me and you, that consciousness is real. Okay, fine. And we know, me and you, that there is no evidence that it's a personal consciousness. So that's sufficient. That is sufficient. Because the question, what will happen to the personal consciousness upon the death of the body, is assuming a belief.
So there is no such thing as personal consciousness, actually.
There's up to now, there is no evidence that's been submitted, because the human species goes a few 100,000 years. Up to now, there's no such evidence. So given there is no such evidence that there is a unicorn, I would tend to say, yes, Fernando, up to now, there is no unicorn. I'm actually willing to say, yes, there is no unicorn.
Thank you.
Okay, nice to see you, Fernando.
So,
hello, Holger.
hello, Magdi. So we could say that personal consciousness is just a habituated consciousness.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Is it?
is a habituated consciousness. The personal and habit is kind of the same, you know.
It's a belief. It's a belief, and you could say that a belief can become a habit. We live and we think and we operate out of that belief. So then habits, you know, in habits of behavior like defending, blaming, accusing, the negative emotions become habitual as a result of this belief. So first there is the belief, and then the habits more like at the body, at the feeling level, at the body level, at the living, how we live, reactivities, repetitive tendencies, repeat, some denials, some defensive, protective tendencies. There are habits, and there is also the thinking habit. And sometimes when we're experiencing the sense of lack or unhappiness, then there's a tendency in some cases to think away, to try to think our way away from it can be, in some cases, they're obsessive, patterns, obsessive patterns, repetitive patterns in some cases that can be very destructive for others and for oneself. In some cases, there are anger, for example. There are some people that say, I have a tendency to get angry, but it's just a habitual way in which the body has adopted to cover up, to somehow try to solve its unhappiness, its inner sense of isolation and fear and concerns and worries as a result of the belief that consciousness is personal and limited. Because there is the belief, and then it plays itself out in our life. Relationships, you see that in relationships, and we inherit, sometimes in our own culture or in our family, we pick up certain habits which are not based on the divine principles of love and freedom and joy and happiness and compassion and fairness. These principles are the divine principles, are not habits. They're aspects of our true nature. They're aspects of reality, aspects of consciousness, attributes of consciousness. And the habitual, at the mind level, we associate I with me. The I is associated with a personal aspect, a personal quality, limited quality, which immediately has a protective, defensive, and aggressive, of course, goes hand in hand, aspects to it. So there is a habit, a tendency, you could say habit, to adopt this model about I, but consciousness, which does not jive with our experience of consciousness, because our experience of consciousness is not a limited personal consciousness. That it has no, it doesn't have those it doesn't have those aspects to it. Consciousness doesn't have the aspect of being contained or being limited or being located somewhere or being personal or trying to improve itself. No, all of that does not apply to our experience of consciousness. It applies to our, they go hand in hand with our belief about the limitation of consciousness and person. That it's a personal aspect that we need to safeguard and improve and take care of. Yeah, so when we inquire into this belief that I'm inside a cocoon, that I am contained within a cocoon, and you realize, no, that was just a dream. It's not true. I am not contained in any cocoon. Then you have a freedom. With a freedom. And it's a very happy. So you can explore, you can live this freedom. Enjoy this freedom. And of course, because the freedom is not personal, then it's just shared through you as a way of speaking, not really through you, but you could say through you, it's shared. It's felt and expressed and lived, which is freedom from concern and worry, sense of lack which relate to the person, the imaginary person. What's going to happen in the future? You know, that's a crouched position to live. It's like in The Hobbit, the creature is always crouched. It's the name of that creature, you know? Yes.
Thank you, Magdi. It's beautiful to be here. And when you say consciousness, it sometimes feels so removed, remote, in a distance, but you basically mean you when you say consciousness.
Yes, absolutely.
You say you, I.
Yes, consciousness, when we say consciousness, is consciousness that is saying consciousness and that is hearing the word consciousness.
Yeah.
It's consciousness, it's the reality. It's just a transparent, it's not like it's just transparency that it's our direct experience of being. It's not phenomenal, it's a nominal. It's absolutely real. It is not real in an objective sense. It's a real in reality, in a real sense. Say nominal sense. Of course, we speak words, but it's alive. It's direct. It's direct. It's natural. It's so normal. It's out. It's like it's. not something so fantastic. We have to, oh my God, we have to find it. No, it's our common, it's our reality. You know, I don't know how to say it. You can see our common experience is our reality. So it's not some fantastic thing, you know, but of course it's beyond fantastic. It's amazing. It's consciousness. I mean, awareness. I mean, to be aware. Wow. I mean, you know, sometimes we look at the tomato and say, oh my God, what an amazing thing. It's tomato out of a seed, you know, the color of the tomato and the smell of it, the shape of it, the feel of it. You know, imagine that awareness and consciousness. I mean, compared to tomato, it's mind-blowing. But anyways, coming back to, yes, back to Earth, it's our common experience. So we don't imagine it. Don't have any imagination. Any imagination we have about consciousness is a caricature. It's just an imagination. So it's a relaxation into being. It's a relaxation into being because it knows itself. It wants to know itself. It knows itself. So it's just a relaxation into being. All is well. Have a cup of tea. Some work, whatever. You know, something that we need to maintain. Oh my God, where did it go? It's there. You know, what you're working there, you're working. You're cooking there, but you're cleaning the house. It's always there. It's not. It doesn't have to be special. It has to be, like some sort of big, big thing. Oh my God, when am I going to finally realize consciousness? It's more about, like we were talking before about, there's no evidence that consciousness is this or that, but there is no denying it, of course. There's no evidence consciousness is something is happening to it. It's inside something. But it's, and then in the absence of these beliefs, they may arise, if that belief arises, then we'll experience some unhappiness. We'll experience, when am I going to get it? How am I going to improve it? What's happening to me? But then that's all model. But because consciousness is always there, you don't need to, oh my God, I need to do something about these thoughts that are risen to me. I need to go back to fix, I need to quickly rush to satsang and things like that. No, it's always there. You can always say, oh, hey, wait. Easy. Tranquilo, here I am. Here is this beingness. I is this transparent presence. Man says, oh no, you are this, you are that, you're this, you're that. Of course, we need to be a father when we have children. We need to be a mechanic when we have a car. We need to fix and make some money and take the money to the bank. Of course. But that doesn't pertain, doesn't affect, it's not interfering. It's not like, oh, the wrong thing, oh, this is a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. This is part of the plan. Consciousness is always there. You see.
Somehow it is too simple.
It's nice, simple. Simple it's nice. Yeah. Why not simple?
Yes. Thank you, Magdi.
Yeah, thank you, Magdi.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Magdi. Absolutely magnificent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So, as always, it's very lovely to be with you all. Thank you.
think Chris wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Yes, Chris.
Only if there's time, Magdi. Is it okay?
Oh, yes, yes, there is time. I didn't see.
Yeah, that's okay. I didn't want to
No.
continue on. But I do have a question. So this came up for me. Do you have any, I guess it would be advice on aligning with satsang in these moments to support understanding?
So, first, when there is an understanding, and there is understanding, the understanding has a restorative order. It has a restorative quality. It has the power to harmonize. And the understanding also is something that we understood. For example, we understood that awareness isn't something that comes and goes. It's not an event. It's not an occurrence that's appearing in time and space. Exactly, we may have this understanding. So we can revisit what we understood. There are various understandings, glimpses. There are glimpses into truth. These glimpses, they reveal something to me. And what they reveal to you is also available for you to revisit. What did I understand about myself or consciousness? What did I understand about the world? That the world appears as what? As perceptions. To what? To our awareness. What's the distance between the perception, meaning the world, and awareness? Zero distance. There are understandings. Whatever they are, I'm just sort of picking the toolbox, some understandings. And there is an understanding that consciousness and life, because life is consciousness appearing as life, what we call our life in general, whichever would be defined, is about happiness. Consciousness is happiness, peace, joy, intelligence, freedom, happiness. It's about happiness. So in your life, you say how to live according to the principles of happiness. It's different from pleasure, pursuit of pleasure, which, of course, there is an understanding about that. The pursuit of pleasure, it's connected to the sense of lack. So then we live according to the principles of happiness. So which means whenever unhappiness arises, then we need to take a look. Because in the absence of unhappiness arising, happiness is, because happiness is of pure nature. You don't need to seek happiness. Whenever you are seeking happiness, you are seeking an experience. You are seeking an object, albeit it's a subtle object, but still an object, an experience, a state, a situation, whatever, feeling, whatever. It's rather, whenever you're experiencing unhappiness, then you take a look, because at that moment, you have adopted the model that I am this person, I am lacking, I am missing. The I mean, I am a limited consciousness. So then you can pause. Otherwise, enjoy life. Enjoy life. What somebody said, it's escaping me. Something that if you just be happy and do what you want, but the key thing is being happy. That it's not a personal happiness. There is no personal happiness. It's no personal happiness. Anything that is personal has a limited aspect to it. So live and enjoy your life. Take life as a celebration with friends, with your mind, with your the creative aspects that arise to you. If you're an artist, if you're an engineer, if you're a technician, if you're a writer, whatever, there's these aspects. You enjoy your body, your friends, your relationships. Just enjoy life. If you live according to the enjoyment of life, which is not the pursuit of pleasure, then you are living according to consciousness, because consciousness is joyful, happy, not lacking. This, if you're lacking something, then we cannot say about enjoying life, because we confuse, it's like, oh, where I enjoy life is, what am I missing, and I'm lacking this, I need to travel, my neighbors have travel, I'm traveling, I need something to be happy. If you need something to be happy, then no, that's not enjoyment. It's different. It's like Jorge said, it's simple. It's simple. As long as you are not assuming yourself and feeling yourself and believing yourself to be inside a cocoon, whichever way you define your cocoon, it's simple. But as soon as you define yourself to be this person, this limited self, it's complicated. And life is like that. You can live like that. We believe that, oh no, we have to get this and figure that and that, and then hopefully we'll get this. Oh, no. Just follow those principles. Not to adopt a belief which has no evidence to it. And consciousness takes care of the rest. And you are that.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, well, thank you all. Yes, very lovely to be with you. Nathan and hey, John, Chris, Carol, Holger, hello, Holly, hi, Jenny, George, hi, Richard. Nice goatee, I like it. Hello, Rahul, Fernando, and
Hello,
Mark.
Magdi. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Magdi. Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magdi.